Welcome to Big Bets on Campus Live, presented by BetMGM. It's 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and this is the Week 4 college football betting preview. I'm your host, Stuckey, and joining me, as always, my Big Bets on Campus podcast co-host, Collin Wilson, and of course, our own college football insider, Brett McMurphy. We have a lot to get to today. We'll cover 4 marquee games. We'll give our best bets here shortly. We'll even talk a little round robin, underdog moneyline parlay, bring in the one and only and universally loved Darren Ravel for a market report. And then we'll give one final bet and get out of here. But before we get into all of that, I do want to remind everyone to make sure that you download the award-winning Action Network app. You can find all of our bets there, as well as an abundance of picks and actionable data for today's slate and beyond. And I also want to share an offer from our sponsor, BetMGM, for new users. Use the code ACTION50 when you sign up. You'll get a free $50 in addition to a $1,000 risk-free bet. Again, that's ACTION50, $50 when you sign up, $1,000 risk-free bet for new users. So shout to BetMGM for that. All right, let's dive right in to our best bets. We'll check in on the leaderboard. Of course, I'm on top, where I belong. Kidding. Brett, are you going to start bringing some of the winners you're giving out in the app to the show? Start supporting the show here.
Yeah, I give out winners on the show, Stuck. I also mix in some losers so people don't know exactly which way to go. Keep them on their toes.
All right, you're trying to hide some of your sharp takes on the show.
There you go.
Just masking your action. Collin, I see you're not wearing Arkansas gear here, and
no neck brace either. No neck brace. Yeah, we got plans. I'll switch into red. I'll quietly keep it low, but the way that we tackle, not very proud of. So we'll talk about that later on the show.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, we'll get to that as one of the 4 marquee games, but let's get to our best bets. I'll kick things off here. I'm going to share one that we didn't talk about on the podcast. We did talk about it on Green Dot Daily, our daily show at noon Eastern every weekday. Stanford. I like Stanford here. I think this is an overinflated number. Look, I came into the season tooting Washington's horn, and I bet them every game this year so far and bet their season win total over. But I think that the market has just got carried away. And this is a great spot for Stanford. They're coming off of a bye after unveiling a new offense against USC, and it actually looked pretty good. Now they get 2 weeks to kind of refine some things. Yes, their star running back is out, but that actually might work in their favor here. How you attack this Washington team and this new scheme is you attack their secondary, which lost a bunch of NFL guys, which now has a bunch of injuries. Stanford has great receivers, great quarterback. And the other side of the ball, Washington can't really run it. Strength of Stanford's defense is that secondary. I think you're getting a really inflated number here. Remember, Stanford was catching just 9 against USC and really should have covered if they didn't turn it over inside the 10 a bunch. Give me the tree catching 2 touchdowns here. Collin, where are you going?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the all Final Four matchup here of Duke and Kansas. I'm going to take Duke and the points. A huge defensive turnaround for head coach Mike Elko in his first year. This defense is 4th nationally in havoc. So what he was doing at Texas A&M, he's brought it to Duke. That's not good for Kansas. They're 60% run on offense, and Duke is 4th in line yards. They're going to be able to stop that rushing attack of the Jayhawks. This is the best defense in the nation against explosives and standard downs. So Kansas is not going to get these chunk plays you've been seeing on these highlights that are on the social media. And Elko wants this game to be a grind. He wants to go about 30 seconds per play. A slow pace favors the better defense. That also is in Duke's favor. And Duke will counter on offense with a rushing attack of Jordan Waters. And if you haven't seen Jordan Waters run, he's had 12 missed tackles and 24 carries. Give me the Blue Devils to cover here. I'm not going to go out and call it an overtime game like I did with Pitt a few weeks ago, but it's going to go down to the wire.
First of all, better not go to overtime because all Kansas does is win overtime games by double digits. So we don't want that to happen. But I agree here in the Battle of Blue Bloods. It's very similar to kind of Washington. Great fast start. I think finally it's a little inflated here with Kansas after the past 2 weeks. All right, Brett, to you. Can you first let the viewers know, is this a real pick? Is this a winner that you're giving us or a fake pick?
Yeah, this is not a head fake. This is a real pick. And yeah, look, I'm 6-12 on the show, but check me out on the app. 11 units over. Download the award-winning Action Network app. I got the plug in there. My best bet is in Dallas, Texas today. It is the iron skillet game between TCU and SMU. Little known fact, the winner gets the iron skillet, the loser has to eat it. I don't know if you guys know or not. I was at Big 12 Media Days this summer and I had a chance to talk to Sonny Dykes. He's literally coached or recruited the majority of SMU's roster. This will be a wild, wild atmosphere. This game is sold out. Sonny told me that he wasn't even sure if his family would go to the game because he feared for their safety. This summer, he also told me he's very confident that TCU would win this game. So I'll take him at his word. Also, the fact that TCU has one of the nation's top running offenses and SMU has the second worst rush defense in the American Athletic Conference. Give me the Horned Frogs -2.
I'm curious to see if it should be a wild atmosphere. I'm curious to see if this line touches 3. I have not seen a single person out there or heard from anyone that is backing SMU here, but that line will not touch 3, at least yet. But yeah, the familiarity factor should work in their favor for sure. All right, good stuff there. Let's jump into our first marquee game of the day. We'll start things off mid-afternoon Eastern time on CBS. Florida at Tennessee. Tennessee 10.5, 11-point favorite here. Over under, I think, sitting at around 62.5. For me, I'm very high on Tennessee. This is a pure pass. This is right around where I made the number. I made it a little higher. So, like, if you maybe bet it, it would be Tennessee. I just want Tennessee to get out of here with a win for some of my division future hopes that Georgia will eventually dash. But this is a pure pass. Collin, I know you like the Vols here.
Yeah, I definitely like Tennessee, and I don't like Florida. The Volunteers, they're ready to wipe away 2 decades of miserable losses in this series. I think Heupel's going to try to get it all back in one night. Florida's quarterback, Anthony Richardson, has yet to throw a touchdown pass this season. He hasn't even recorded a big-time throw, but he's had 6 turnover-worthy plays. This one-dimensional ground offense that Florida's putting out there is going to be easy for the Tennessee defense to key up on. And we don't have that problem on the Tennessee offense. Hendon Hooker is running the 6th fastest offense. He's had 5 passes over 40 yards. That is going to come against a Florida defense that has just trended downward since they beat Utah in week 1. Got those nice interceptions to close the game out against Cam Rising. But this is a bottom 10 pass defense. They're going to give Hooker all the time in the world. That no pressure will be applied. And the Gators, right now are bottom 15 against the rush. That's good news for the running backs, Jalen Wright and Jabari Small. So, the best fight song in college football is good old Rocky Top, Tennessee. I think we're going to hear it multiple times today.
Death, taxes, and Colin fading Billy Napier. By the way, it's not a great look for your beloved Utes that the only team Florida can cover against is Utah. Brett, where are you going here?
Yeah, this is going to be another. We talked about SMU TCU wild atmosphere. This is going to be a wilder atmosphere in Knoxville. But this is unfamiliar territory for Tennessee. They're double-digit favorites. Despite the fact the Vols have lost 16 of the last 17 against Florida, they've never been this big a favorite against Florida. I've been very impressed with Josh Heupel, Hendon Hooker. The Vols are 4th in the nation in scoring 52 points a game. The Gators defensively, Colin talked a lot about that. They've allowed at least 26 points a game, including to USF. Quick story, last Tennessee-Florida game I covered in Knoxville, there were a record 107,000 people there. I literally was among the last 3 reporters to leave and actually got locked in the stadium. True story. Speaking of locks, I have my 2 locks of the week right here. First is the Master Lock Model 1500T right here. I highly recommend it. And also over Tennessee, 36.5 points, team total. Not sure if the Vols will cover, but they will go over the 36.5 points.
Showing a lock and then giving, I feel like that's like a head fake. That's the ultimate head fake. Maybe that's the fake play.
That's what an emoji is to that generation, right? He actually brings a lock to put in the pick.
That generation. Thanks, man.
Yeah. No comment there. Colin, let's move on to the next game. We'll stay in the SEC. Go to prime time. Arkansas against Texas A&M on a neutral field. Texas A&M 2-point favorite over under. That looks sitting around 50. I like A&M here. Probably on a money line. I'm waiting to see if this line comes down. I think that Arkansas is getting a bit too much respect for their start. That South Carolina game, South Carolina's defense ravished by injuries. Missouri State should have beat Arkansas, by the way. And look, it's a matter of trying to figure out, do I trust the Texas A&M offense more than the Arkansas defense, and I actually do. I think that Texas A&M will be able to hit enough explosive plays against that defense that really misses Jalen Catalan. I think this is the game where you really miss Treylon Burks and his ability to stretch the field. So, Collin, a week after having to wear the neck brace because she backed Arkansas against Missouri State, you're getting him as a dog against Texas A&M. I assume you're going with your Hogs here.
No, I'm not. I mean, as a Gen Xer myself, I remember the Southwest Conference, and so this rivalry has been a joy to watch in the SEC for the Southwest Classic Trophy. But A&M's going to get revenge from last year, and Max Johnson was great last week, coming in, being the new starting quarterback against Miami. No turnover-worthy plays, and because he's a lefty, that poor play from the left tackle is no longer the blindside tackle. Now Max Johnson can see all of that from the snap, but it doesn't matter because Arkansas has been awful on defense. They're not getting any pass rush whatsoever. Their coverage is outside the top 100. And, they're back 7 right now. They're 124th in tackling. I know Miles Slusher is coming back to this defensive unit to play corner, safety, nickelback, but that's not going to improve the tackling grade of the rest of this defense. If you see Devin Achane or Aeneas Smith get into the second level, it could go to the house for touchdowns for Texas A&M. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Stuckey, you said it, KJ Jefferson has not been tested on long down and distances without Treylon Burks. We don't know who that go-to person is going to be against a great, an elite defense of Texas A&M that is also 7th in defensive finishing drive. So I see a lot of Texas A&M, a lot of things going Texas A&M's way in the advanced stats here. And Arkansas, if they can't tackle, I'm not going to take them against a lot of teams for a lot of weeks. So continue to fade train on my Hogs.
That's the only thing that I heard you say was Nickelback. And by the way, that's a band that you Gen Xers listen to. And me as a millennial, I don't know anything about that. Brett, where are you going here?
Have you guys, either of you guys, seen Texas A&M's offense? Because if you know where it is, call Jimbo Fisher. Look, you guys, incredible breakdown and analytics as only you guys can do. You left out 2 key stats. First, Collin is 0-2 this year picking against Arkansas. Second, I've never, ever in the history of my long life lost an Arkansas pick going head-to-head against Collin. This is anti-Collin, pro-Arkansas, and pro-Sammy covers. Give me Woo Pig Suey plus 2.5, and thank me later.
Yeah, by the Collin's 0-2 picking against Arkansas. Then last week picks oh my god, I might buy out of this. Collin, if Texas A&M doesn't win this, there's a punishment coming for you on the podcast next week. All right, let's get into our round robin underdog moneyline parlay. Collin, why don't you kick things off for us with maybe Texas A&M? Hope not.
I'm 100% behind Brett on the TCU pick. No one knows the SMU roster better than the TCU head coach. He recruited every kid. So Sonny Dykes is just going to wail today. We haven't seen a 3 in the market. I think it's going to come. It's steamed all the way from TCU being a dog. Let's start off with the Frogs.
I'm going to go Oregon State. I think this line should be close to a field goal. Both offenses are going to move up and down the field. I think this line should be closer to a field goal. We'll talk about this game in a bit. Just give me the Beavers. Collin?
Yeah, I took the Blue Devils at the top of the show. Let's take them outright here. This is too big of a point spread swing. Kansas goes from +9 against Houston to -7 against Duke. It's way too big of a power rating swing for odds makers. So let's go with the Blue Devils here to pull it off outright.
Yeah, I'm going to go Sparty here. They're catching 3 at home. Look, Minnesota's played 3 middle school teams. Sparty coming off of a loss at home, be a wild atmosphere. And there's no Altman Bell, the leading receiver for Minnesota. Minnesota wants to run the ball. That's a lot better matchup for Michigan State. I know there's some injury concerns, but think there's some value here with Sparty at home.
Yeah, and a game we're about to talk about in the marquee matchup is Kansas State. It's safe to say that I'm going to pick them on the side. I think that they can win outright. There's a trench warfare coming up here against the Sooners that Kansas State's going to win. So give me the Wildcats to close up our money line round robin parlay.
All right, good stuff. Let's move on to the second half of our show. And we'll start with our third marquee game of the day. It's the one we just mentioned, Kansas State at Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma taking some money and move up to 13.5 point favorites, over under 53. Chris Kleiman, the Kansas State coach, 3-0 against the spread against Oklahoma with outright wins as 24 and 27 point underdogs. Can he make it 3 as a double-digit underdog? We'll see. I'm still undecided on this game. My numbers show that I should play Kansas State. If I get 14, I'm taking it. I'm glad that it's going up, and I'll have to make that decision. But I'm just worried about the Kansas State offense. They have not even attempted to throw it downfield, which they will need to do in this game. But that does worry me a bit. But it is a good spot to back them here. Collin, I know you're all in on Emal today.
Yeah, you couldn't have a better zigzag than you could here with OU just blowing out Nebraska and Kansas State losing to Tulane. But this is a Kansas State team that is built to win the trench on both sides of the ball against the Sooners. They've been doing it for years, and they're going to continue to do it today. This is a top 25 rushing attack unit with Deuce Vaughn and Adrian Martinez. Martinez at quarterback, who Coach Kleiman is asking to do more today, to throw more, to run more, to be a bigger part of this offense, which he was pretty good against Oklahoma in the past. So, on the defensive side, Kansas has one of the best defensive lines in all of the Big 12. Oklahoma quarterback Dylan Gabriel has just not been pressured at all this year. You look at some of the defenses they've gone up against from Kent State and UTEP. He has not seen anything, but we know that he can have a flurry of turnover-worthy plays going back to his days at Central Florida. He's going to see pressure today. We'll see if that turns into turnovers. But Kansas State is going to make this game a grind. They're going to go 30 seconds per play. They're going to dominate the trench. They're going to put a chokehold on that defense and not allow the Oklahoma offense to be on the field very long. I like the Wildcats all the way.
Yeah, hopefully you get a clean game for Martinez. That defensive line for Kansas State should have a say. And I do agree with you. I still have some questions about the Oklahoma offense. It's obviously good, but, they struggled for a while against Kent State. It was little against UTEP at times. Minor Nation, by the way, shout out. And then last week, they blew out Nebraska. But so has everybody that's played Nebraska this year. Georgia Southern put up 40. Northwestern, Brian Helinski looked like the Heisman front runner against them. So let me see this Oklahoma offense tonight before I'm a full-in buyer. Brett, what do you got here?
Stuckey, I'm disappointed. Another pass. You've had more passes on this show than Army Navy. Look, I talked earlier about Tennessee being an unfamiliar position. Kansas State is in a very familiar position. They are huge underdogs at Oklahoma. But guess what? The Wildcats have thrived in this role since 2012. Oklahoma has lost only 8 home games, 3 of those to Kansas State. Stuckey, you mentioned some of the upsets they've had. Kansas State has won 3 of the last 6 trips to Norman, twice when Oklahoma is ranked in the top 10 like they are now. And 2 of the 3 losses were by TD or less. I'm putting my faith in Deuce Vaughn, and I hate to say it, Adrian Martinez. Give me Kansas State plus 12.5.
Yeah, more Brett. I give winners on the show, not fake picks and losers.
When you don't pick any games, it's easy. Easy call. Easy stuff.
We could bring that scoreboard back up if we need to, but I don't want to do that to you. All right, Let's move on to our 4th and final game. And we're going prime time. Little Pac-12 after dark. USC at Oregon State, which should be a packed house in Corvallis. Oregon State, this line has been all over the place, even 12 at some books at some point. Now down to 5.5. Over under, I think, is sitting at 70.5. I mentioned that I like Oregon State in a round robin underdog money line parlay earlier. Obviously like them here. I took some 6 and 6.5 small. I'm waiting to see if this gets to 7. If not, should have a chance potentially to get that number live. Both offenses should have a ton of success here. Look, USC's offense is excellent. Everyone knows their defense has been lucky. Every metric you look at, bottom 20 in the country, except for the fluke ones, turnovers, your red zone, etc. Oregon State, really well-coached team, takes care of the ball. One of the best offensive lines in the country. They should move it up and down the field. Will they get many stops? No. But from what I've heard from the coaches, and this is how you have to approach USC, play aggressive. You got to try to create havoc on 1st or 2nd down. You have to try and force a turnover. Jump a route. Who cares if you get burnt for an 80-yard touchdown? USC is probably going to go score anyway. You got to steal a possession or 2. The regression monster looming says that maybe that happens to USC tonight. I like Oregon State here. I think this should be closer to a field goal. Go Beavers. Collin, how about you?
Yeah, completely agree. This should be closer to a field goal, not 12. Oregon State has the offensive pieces to march up and down the field on the USC defense, similar to what Stanford and Fresno did. And what's the difference? Havoc. Havoc is going to determine this game. And Oregon State's Havoc allowed numbers dictate that they're not going to give the ball up, and they're not going to allow USC to play in the backfield. They've only allowed 11 tackles for loss this season. And if you haven't seen Oregon State wide receiver Trayshawn Harris and his 3.2 yards per route run, he is must-see TV or must-see Pac-12 network if that really exists. But listen, Havoc, like I said, is going to be the determining factor here. Oregon State head coach Jonathan Smith said in his presser, the only way we're going to beat this USC offense is if we take the ball away. So you can expect every single tackling attempt to come with a strip attempt. Now, that could be an explosive play, but finally we get some turnover regression to this USC number. I like Oregon State to keep pace with USC and give them a heck of a game, cover this number.
It just something just clicked in my head. By the way, I have a bunch of people coming over to my house today and tonight, and I'm like, wow, look at all these friends I have. Now I just realized that I actually have Pac-12 network and no one else does, and that's the only reason people are coming to visit me. Brett, what do you got?
You're the one that has it. I was at Pac-12 Media Day. I wasn't sure if you guys knew that this summer, and I talked to USC coach Lincoln Riley. We talked about the perception that USC is this all-star team and the challenges the Trojans may face because they haven't worked together as long as other traditional teams that have been together for several years. Lincoln admitted to me he wasn't sure how the Trojans would respond to adversity. Well, they haven't had to face it yet against Rice, Stanford, and Fresno State. Well, they will tonight. They're going up against, I think, the most underrated 3-0 team in the country in Oregon State, the nation's most underrated coach in Jonathan Smith. That defense allows more than 400 yards in back-to-back games for USC. That's right, Stuck. I'm with you. Let's go Beavers +7.
This is not going to end very poorly, but I completely agree with you. And most underrated 3-0 team in the country. More disrespect for Kansas from Brett. Will you rank, Brett, go on the spot here, will you rank Kansas if they win this weekend?
Teams in the top 25 have to lose, and then I will consider it.
Unreal.
How about that?
Right, Kansas fans, get them on Twitter. All right, great stuff there. It's time to now bring on the one and only Mr. Darren Ravel. No auction this morning. You're actually going to join us live. I'm impressed. What's going on?
I am actually wearing an auction item. It's a Rashawn Slater used warm-up. So since Northwestern lost to Southern Illinois, I have to go back to the past. So very proud of Rashawn Slater.
Did you give me that game ticket, signed game ticket, by the way? Southern Illinois, Northwestern.
No, I'll get you the signed check that we gave Northern Illinois. It's going back to the bank, Northwestern, and then maybe I'll get that back. Not unless the check bounces. First of all, I want to say thank you for UTEP last night. I took them plus 375 live when it was 3-3. So thank you for that. I'm also impressed by your Oregon State gear. Where the hell do you get Oregon State gear around? Both of you guys having Oregon State gear.
There's this thing called the internet, Darren. You can find lots of
No,
things.
but
Corvallis, Oregon.
Actually buying it is another thing. Let's get to the action. Most bet games at BetMGM. No surprise, the 12 o'clock Maryland Michigan game, USC Oregon, which at Caesars is totally different from everything else going on. Clemson Wake Forest is also the most bet game, and then the most bet teams. Michigan, 90% of the tickets, 87% of the money, -17. USC -6. So people are going against you, and Clemson -7.5. Most bet teams, Michigan, USC, Clemson, and then finally, most popular totals, 91% of the money on the over of 53.5 for Miami MTSU, 86% of the money on the under of 50.5 for Wyoming BYU, and 82% of the money on the over of 55.5 for Clemson Wake Forest. And here's your chance to get in with our sponsor, Big Bets on Campus, presented by BetMGM. Use the bonus code ACTION50. You get $50 when you sign up, and you get $1,000 in risk-free bet. Again, use the code ACTION50. And now I kind of want to tell you what I'm going with.
Yeah, we need some fades. You gave 3 picks out last week. They all lost, and that's what the people want. Your fades. So what are your favorite bets today?
I really like Maryland, Michigan under first half, 32.5, now 33. I just think, as in your words, Michigan has played 3 middle school teams, and they're not exactly going to hang 50, and Maryland is just going to play. They're not going to play up because they never do. So that's 1. 2, I like Wisconsin, Ohio State. I think this game's going to be 35-17 17. If Wisconsin ever gets to 17, I don't know, but I'll take the under at 57.5. I'll also take Wisconsin plus 19. And then I'm going to take Charlotte plus 23.5 against South Carolina. Why are you laughing?
Unreal. All right. Yesterday you gave out UNC on Green Dot Daily. Now you give out Charlotte. I'm about to give out Charlotte. I bet Charlotte. But
Yes.
maybe you're due.
I did not look at the. By the way, I did
week.
not look at the script. I'm just telling you that. I'm not. That's not my thing. So
Unreal.
I don't even know. I don't even know how to use when they send out the script. I don't even know how to use the Google whatever program that is. So
well, yeah, you don't know how to find shirts on the internet. I doubt you would know how to use a Google Doc. The only thing you know how to do is go on auctions. All right, Darren. Thanks as always. Good luck.
Really, hey, I'm really good at it. I'm the Stuckey of auctions. So
good luck tonight with Charlotte. Please bring them home for us and enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next week.
You got it.
All right, good stuff there from Darren. Now, before we get out of here, one final order of business, and that's one final best bet. I'll start. Darren just spoiled it. It's Charlotte plus 23, which is doomed now. But I don't think the market's properly accounting for Chris Reynolds being back and all of the South Carolina injuries. They could have up to 7 or 8 defensive starters out. That's why you saw Arkansas's offense look so good. And look, they have South Carolina State on deck and then SEC play. So I think they're going to take a cautious approach. But the Charlotte offense with Chris Reynolds is a different animal. Without him, completely inept. Last week they put up 40, one outright as 3 touchdown underdogs. I think they cover this number. Also a great backdoor candidate if they're down 28 late. So give me Charlotte. Let's go, Darren. Collin?
Yeah, speaking of numbers that scream back door, Tulsa plus 21.5 against Ole Miss. Ole Miss on overlook to Kentucky. Not sure how serious they are about this Tulsa team. And I'm just not a believer in this Ole Miss defense after facing the passing attacks of Georgia Tech, Troy, and FCS Central Arkansas that doesn't even throw to the outside of the tackle. So, Tulsa's number 1 in the nation right now in passing success rate. That Davis Brin to Keelan Stokes connection is one of the best in the nation. The Rebels are going to get a scare here today before they go into conference play. So give me Tulsa 21.5.
Brett, are you hearing this? He's fading Arkansas. He lives in Tulsa, where he's dressed as Petrino this week. Now he's talking up this Tulsa team. Maybe he's fully converted and abandoned his hogs. Brett, where are you going?
He's trying to get a sponsorship deal from Hideaway Pizza. I don't blame him.
Yes, please.
I'm going with another underdog here. James Madison, the Dukes plus 7 against App State. Let's quickly recap App State's first 3 weeks. Lost a 63-61 thriller to North Carolina despite scoring 40 points in the fourth quarter. Huge win at Texas A&M. They come back home. They host College Game Day. They pull out a win on a last-second Hail Mary. What is left in the gas tank? Fortunately for them, Stuckey's not filling up that gas tank with diesel. Look, James Madison is making the transition from the FCS ranks. They are not eligible for the Sun Belt title. They are not eligible for a bowl game. This will be the bowl game. Coach Kurt Signetti will preach that to the Dukes. Give me the Dukes plus 7.
Good stuff there. Unfortunately, we're out of time, so I don't have time to share my story about filling a rental with diesel, which I did do before. But another time, tune into the Big Bets on Campus podcast. 4 episodes a week now. We'll be back on Monday to recap the weekend, maybe even talk some diesel stories. And make sure you download the award-winning Action Network app. And again, shout out to our sponsor, BetMGM. Action 50 on that code for new users. Get $50 free when you sign up. $1,000 risk-free bet. Good luck on all of your wagers today. We'll catch you same time next week, 10:30 a.m. Eastern.
Go Frog.